Hello, Pastor Mark here with a quick Bible study on Wednesday. Well, we'll see how quick. I'm hoping to stay under 10 minutes. So if you can hang in here for 10 minutes, hopefully you'll be blessed with something today. Romans chapter 8, the 28th verse, reading from my Bible app here on my phone, from the New King James translation. It says, "And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose." This is a often misunderstood, misinterpreted, misapplied passage. Some people think it means everything that happens to a person in life is good for them. That's not exactly correct. Some people think this is applicable to all people everywhere on the earth. That is also incorrect. Some think that, this is every single thing, everything in life, all things, because it says all things that happen to Christians, people who try and live for God, they're good for them. That is not what it says either. So hopefully before we're finished here today, you'll have an understanding of this. And I'm going to use an analogy to explain what I believe this passage refers to. The key phrases in this passage, those who love God, that's significant. It says all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. So these are the people who've committed their lives to the Lord. They love the Lord. They're trying to do right. And God works it out so that all things do work together somehow for good. It in no way, shape, or form says or suggests that all things are good for the person. Let's take a look. The analogy of a chocolate cake. And the reason I use this analogy in the book of Genesis, or in the life of Joseph, if you're familiar with it, and he is not the focus of this Bible study, so I'm not going to put a lot of time on Joseph. But Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. Yeah, that's messed up. To his cousins. That's, a lot of you have missed that before. You need to read it. You'll see who it's talking about. The Ishmaelites were his cousins. So they haul him down to Egypt and they sell him in an auction for slavery. This is all bad. The brothers lie to their dad, tell him they find Joseph's coat, they put blood on it, they tear it. Dad, we found this. Is this his coat? They knew it was his coat. Nobody else in the whole area had a coat like that. His dad made him this special coat of many colors. Yeah, is this his coat? And he wails and moans and weeps and grieves for years, decades. So that's all bad. It's bad for Jacob. It's bad for Joseph. It's bad for his family. His little brother Benjamin wasn't in on this thing. His oldest brother was not in on this thing. He was trying to keep the other guys from harming him. They sell him when he's away. It's a whole story. Joseph is a slave. That's bad. He comes out. God blesses him. He gets accused of something false and ends up being thrown in the prison. That's worse. God eventually brings him up out of the prison. He is elevated. He's second only to Pharaoh in the land of Egypt. And God has given him a plan to basically manage the grain and the selling and buying of grain over a period of 14 years altogether, um, to save as many people alive and cause the food to last as long as they can. Um, when Joseph is old and his dad has died and his brothers are afraid that now Joseph is going to get him because they've all been reunited, Joseph says, "You meant it for evil." He didn't mince words. They did. They meant it for evil. They didn't mean it to be good. They didn't mean it to have some, this wasn't a prank. If they would have had their way, they would have killed him. They did not mean it in any other way but for evil. And Joseph says, but God meant it for good and has kept all of us alive. So, my thinking, I came up with this analogy of a chocolate cake. Why did I use a chocolate cake? I could have used any other recipe, but chocolate cake is one of my favorite desserts. It's not my single favorite. I do like other desserts, some a little better, but chocolate cake has a wide and broad application, and I think many, many people like chocolate cake. There are some who don't, and to them I say, so much for your taste buds, but I think it's really good. So what do we have in a chocolate cake? We have flour, we have sugar, cocoa powder, baking powder, baking soda, eggs, milk. There's a lot of things in a chocolate cake and that go into the making of a chocolate cake. But that isn't it. The ingredients alone are not what make a chocolate cake. There's a beating and a mixing and a stirring and a pouring and a baking. There's a lot that goes in on those ingredients in making a chocolate cake. Now, each one taken on its own is pretty terrible with very few exceptions. Let's take a look at it. Flour. Take a spoonful of flour and put it in your mouth. Give it a try. Pretty nasty. Almost no flavor. Dries your mouth out. Gross. You get this sticky business going on. It's hideous. Spoonful of sugar. At first, ooh, that's not too bad. Compared to the flour, it's amazing. But it's still not great. And if you keep doing that on a daily basis, you're going to be seeing your dentist a little sooner than you planned. How about cocoa powder? It smells right. It's chocolate cocoa powder after all. It's cocoa powder. This is what chocolate is coming from. Take a spoonful of that and see what you think. Hideous. It's terrible. Baking powder. Baking soda. Just as bad. Salt. That's salty, baby. But it's more tolerable than the baking powder. Milk. Hey, I'll take a glass of milk, no problem. The milk isn't so bad. In fact, it's kind of nice. Oil. What? Yeah, you go ahead and take however much oil might be in a cake recipe. I'm just going to say a third of a cup, quarter of a cup, half a cup, whatever it is. Drink that. Gross. Pretty bad. Doesn't matter if it's canola oil, vegetable oil, coconut oil, peanut oil, I don't care what kind of oil. It's going to taste bad and leave a gross feeling probably in your stomach. Eggs. A lot of people enjoy raw eggs. I am not one of them. But that's going to be way more tolerable than drinking a quarter of a cup or whatever it is of oil or eating a couple spoonfuls of flour or what have you. Not good though on its own, right? Vanilla. Somebody I'm going to nominate vanilla as the one thing used in many, many different recipes that is a liar. Vanilla smells sublime. I do not use that word very often in my vocabulary, but if you open a little bottle of vanilla extract and just gently let the aroma come through your nose as you breathe it in and let the scent roll around in, what's it called, your olfactory sensors, it smells awesome. Now, pour a spoonful of that and taste it. It's a lie. It's gross. It's bitter. It's nasty. And you're going to have a terrible taste in your mouth for some time because it's difficult to get rid of it. But that bitter, nasty thing is really important in the ingredients in a chocolate cake. And then water. There's a little water, I think, added to a chocolate cake. Some recipes I've read require it to be hot, like a cup of coffee hot. I don't know whether that makes a lot of difference or not. Some don't say it at all, they just say water. Generally, now there may be a few additions or differences from various cake recipes, but that's my understanding of the chocolate cake recipe. Now you have to mix the dry ingredients and mix them up, and then you add slowly the wet ingredients, and then the blender and the mixer, the hand mixer is just, it's just tearing it all to bits and busting all the little balls of powder from the flour and the baking soda and the baking powder and the cocoa that are all mixed together, and they're breaking them up, and you got to keep swirling it around. Well, that's pretty hard on those ingredients. It's pretty tough. And then they get poured into a pan and put into a hot oven, usually 300 and something degrees, 350, 325, 375, whatever your recipe calls for a duration usually about 25 to 30, 35 minutes-ish. That's intense heat, and that heat transforms that batter, which was beaten. All those ingredients were beaten together to form that batter, which was poured into the cake pans, which was then put into the hot oven. And that heat is so intense and so steady and so relentless, it transforms that batter into what we know as cake. It's a pretty tough time on the cake. The heat is relentless and it's transformative. Then there's a cooling off period. Take it out the oven. There's a time. It sits for a few minutes, and then you got to get that cake out of that cake pan or it's going to stick. And it comes out and it sets, some people put it on a cooling rack, some just set it on a plate or whatever, but it's now the time for it to cool. Because if you start putting frosting on a hot cake that's 300 and something degrees, your frosting is going to just run away and melt. I think you're getting the idea with the analogy here. All things work together for them, for those who love the Lord, who are the called according to his purpose. Jesus said once to Peter that Satan, this was in Luke chapter 22, the 31st verse, I think it's the 31st verse, that Satan desires to sift you as wheat. Now, most modern day bags of flour are pre-sifted. You see, when wheat is ground, that's another aspect of the recipe. If you're starting with a bag of wheat and you're going to grind it into flour yourself, and then you have to sift it to get the hulls of the seeds of the kernels of wheat out from the flour. And that's the way it was in the old days. You didn't just go buy a bag of flour. You had to grind it yourself. And then there was a sifting process. And that separated the hulls from the now wheat. The Lord told Peter, the devil desires to sift him like wheat. He wants to sift him. He wants to separate aspects from his life from others. And Jesus said, but I've prayed for you that your faith doesn't fail. Wow, or your faith should not fail. I believe is how that's worded in the New King James translation. The whole chocolate cake analogy is relevant in understanding our walk with God and how things happen and how the Lord takes those bitter moments, those bitter episodes, those tragedies, those terrible things, those good things, those sweet things, the bitter things, and he mixes them together. And through the trials of life, oh, we don't like hearing that. I hate hearing that. But it's so true. Through the trials of this life and the heat and the intensity of the trials, and sometimes the enduring, long, terribly hot moments that just don't seem to be relenting. They don't seem to be letting up. They don't seem to be letting go. We are transformed. And when we come out from the other side, we are changed and we are different. We are not the same as we were before. And that has happened because God has taken all that stuff and he's worked it together and somehow made it for good. So I'd like to remind someone today that's going through a tough time, that's going through a hard time, or that has been going through a really tough season, and you don't feel like it's ever going to end. It's going to end. It will end. And when it does, you're going to be a different kind of a person when you come out of the other side of that heat, the baking time, the mixing time, the pouring time. I said to a friend of mine the other day, in response to something that he said, I said, we are not a finished work yet. God is still working on us. We're still going through this life. We're still going through experiences, changes, good times, bad times, mountaintops, valleys. We're still being molded and shaped. We're not a finished work yet. And I would dare to say that until we die, or until Jesus comes and changes us in an instant, as 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 tells us, we're changed in a moment, in an instant, in the twinkling of an eye. Paul wrote, this mortal will put on immortality. We will be changed. Until that happens, we are still a work in progress. Now, when you pass away and you die, you're done. You're finished. And those who are not yet finished, when the Lord comes back, he speeds it up and he finishes us. Take that for what it's worth. Your mileage might be different. Well, God bless you. I hope that this is a blessing to you today. It's gone on about twice as long as I hoped it would. We're just past 19 minutes and 30-something seconds. I hope to see you this Sunday morning, 10:30 at the True by Hilton, right behind the Scooters coffee shop at 72nd and Haskell, the main floor conference room. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day.